Okay, so today I want to talk about the 5 questions that you should be asking a video agency before you hire them for your business. And the cool thing about this is it applies to, most agency services that you might be looking to source. And so these questions are quite agnostic in terms of, the type of agency that you're consulting with, but ultimately these are the ones that you're looking at for video specifically to ensure that you're properly vetting the company and hiring the right group and can trust that your money is going in the right places. And for those of you that don't know, my name is Adam Sewell. I run a video production studio that I've been running for over a decade now. Started from zero, we're now at multiple 7 figures. We've worked with some global brands over the years on multi-million-dollar campaigns that you've probably seen on, television, online, wherever it may be. And the really reason I tell you that is just to give you an insight into the perspective that I'm going to share and kind of my experience level on talking about these types of projects. So let's dive into it. So the 5 questions to ask for hiring a video agency. The first one is, who from your team will be on set and what are their roles? And this essentially does a couple of things. It establishes, one, their knowledge. Let me just start by prefacing, all of these questions happen after you've had the budget discussion. You as a business should have shared what you have in a budget range sense, and you should have shared that with the production company because that both puts you on the same page. I'm very, very highly against withholding budget conversations. I think those are the things that should be at the forefront of these conversations because it basically sets the stage for everything that comes thereafter. So I'm assuming with all of these questions that you've had that conversation, that you've shared at least a budget range or at least a top end of what you're willing to spend, because any business that tells you that they don't have a budget or haven't set a budget yet essentially is either being lazy or not being honest in the conversation. There is definitely a top end of what people are willing or what businesses are willing to spend on any given project. Maybe they haven't done the discovery internally to establish that. And if you are that business, just do the work. It makes everything else downstream from it a lot easier. So I say that to say, have the budget discussion and we'll go from there. So who from your team will be on set and what are their roles? This question here is, one, going to give you insight into whether or not the production studio or agency has a firm grasp of this type of project that you're working on. You have already communicated what the type of project is, whether it be for a video standpoint, maybe it's a testimonial style video, an executive leadership video, maybe it's a commercial or a product video. What you're looking for in the answer from the agency is maybe an example of what they've done in the past. You might be too early in the conversation to determine that this is exactly what the structure of the team and who and where and when they will be there, but you are not too early in the conversation for the agency to not provide examples of what they've done in the past and what's worked and maybe what's not worked. For example, if you were to come to our studio and you were asking for an in-studio product commercial, I can kind of give you a templatized response on what's worked in the past. Maybe it's a 10-person crew with a director of photography that we've worked with in the past that has a lot of experience in product cinematography. We have a director who specializes in product commercial direction, and we can fill the crew out from there on. Maybe it's a gaffer and a grip of 3 G&E additional crew members. Maybe there's a set designer and maybe a product design specialist who can ensure that the product looks perfect in every single frame, and maybe there's a couple of PAs and some camera assistants to throw in there as well. I can just kind of regurgitate that because of the reps and the experience that we have. And if you're working with an agency or talking with an agency that cannot do that and cannot provide you that kind of perspective, then maybe that's a red flag. You can always just kind of prompt them. So, okay, I can't give you an example right now. Maybe that's what the agency says. And then you can just tell them, okay, what have you done in the past? What's worked in the past? Can you give us some examples? Essentially, what we're trying to do is uncover their experience level in an indirect way so that we can kind of converse through these options. So that's question number 1. Who from your team will be on set and what are their roles? And then again, this also helps you determine if the person that you're speaking to on the phone is actually going to be the one on set with you. And that doesn't mean it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing, but it will also help you understand who you're speaking to and what their experience is and what their role usually is. And sometimes in a smaller company, you might be speaking to the director already, which will then frame the conversation going forward, because you're going to have different kind of jargon and lingo speaking to a director rather than speaking to maybe an EP that is going to hand everything off downstream. Question 2 is, can you share examples of desired video type with us that you have created in the past? And again, it kind of goes hand in hand with the first question, but it's gaining an insight into their specific experience in your specific type of video that you're looking to create. Whether it's testimonial videos or anything else, if they have a body of work that is in the same sort of kind of vertical as what you're looking for as a company, then the chances are they're going to bring a level of experience and knowledge around creating that specific type of video in your project too. And you always want that. There's no reason to hire a company that's maybe done some really high-end stuff, work with Apple, work with Google, work with Nike, and on a commercial level, and then try and hire them to do some testimonial videos for a corporate initiative. This is something that is, obviously there's a disconnect there. Obviously, you're going to get a certain level, but you're also going to be paying a certain price point. But also, the team that has a body of work doing testimonial videos has the systems and the workflows in place to work more efficiently. And that's what you're looking for. You want to pay the least amount for the most efficient result. That's the balance that we're looking for here. And this question will help uncover that. And kind of going hand in hand with the previous question, can you point out videos in your portfolio that were executed with a similar budget range to ours? And now this is one that really does not get enough attention and doesn't get asked enough in my experience with talking with thousands of businesses over the years. They see work in our portfolio, and as a production studio, we present our best work, as do all agencies. We don't present everything that we do. We do a lot more work than what is on our portfolio. Now, if we're not asking this question, then the assumption is from the company side, the business side that's trying to hire the agency, that they are going to receive a similar type of work to what is in your portfolio, which is not necessarily the case all the time. I'm going to kind of go back to the testimonial example here because it's easy. We've done customer testimonials in the $50,000 to $75,000 range for larger companies that have higher profile clients. But we've also done testimonials in the $5,000 to $15,000 range. Now, do we think they look the same? Do we think they have the same approach? Do we think they have the same crew and more, systemized or deliberate approach to each one? There are some similarities, but there are definitely some differences as well that we need to consider. And this question is really going to overcome that knowledge gap right there. So asking whether or not you need to see examples of not just portfolio items that are in the same vertical, but also in the same budget range, because this is something that doesn't get asked enough. And this is something where maybe the expectations versus reality there's a large gap. So asking this question before hiring an agency is extremely important. The next question is, throughout the process, what will your team handle and what are the expectations of our team? This is for clear communication. Honestly, this is one of the most important ones because it sets you up for success going forward. And I think you'll get the theme here of all 5 of these questions are the goal here is to uncover as much information that is maybe not offered up front, but to get on the same page and to understand, what our lanes are. This one here specifically is just head on asking questions. What is expected from our team internally versus what are you as an agency going to be providing for each step of the process? And take your time with this. Go through them slowly because each step of the process is going to have a different approach. And the agency should be able to answer this quite clearly, depending on what you've discussed budget-wise, depending on the type of project that you're asking about and inquiring about. The agency should be able to tell you, again, in our experience, this is how it looks. We expect you to maybe provide the first draft of the script because we're not industry experts as a studio. We need your help just getting to the foundational level of understanding what needs to go in the script. From there, our agency will then take it and then develop that script into something that's going to read well on video. That's an example of clearing the communication lines, because the last thing you want to do is go into a project and expect the agency is going to handle everything from the very first draft of the script all the way through the end. Very rarely is that the case. This is a very much a collaborative industry and space, and defining what those parameters are and in terms of collaboration is very important very early on. And maybe the agency comes back to you and says, at this moment in time, we don't know exactly what the defined roles will be, but what I can tell you is this is going to be a collaboration. We're going to try and make it as easy and as possible for you guys as a business and to not be too involved throughout. But ultimately, we need your input in quite a few areas to make sure that we're communicating your message in the right way and in line with your brand. So that's a really important point. Can't stress that enough. And again, it's not a binary thing. There's not a one fixed answer here. It's going to very much fluctuate depending on the type of project, the type of budget, and the type of relationship that you guys want to establish as a working relationship. So that's question number 4. And then the last question: what do you need from us before we get started? And for me, this question really helps you understand whether or not the agency has their shit together. Because if they do, then they have an onboarding process that is, fairly generic and fairly consistent between each and every project. And what do you need from us before we get started is going to basically have them tell you what's needed. And then if you need to go one step further, I would just directly ask them, what does your onboarding process look like? Again, it really just helps lay the groundwork to make sure that you're working with an agency that knows what they're doing. And that's what we want to do here. We want to kind of eliminate as much risk as possible and eliminate as many variables as possible that could potentially go wrong and could potentially not align with your expectations. If they're able to spell out what their onboarding process is and help you feel more comfortable in the transaction or the commitment to their services, then again, that's what we're trying to establish here. So those are my 5. I think as a whole, these questions are really going to be able to help you feel confident about the decision that you're making, because these are not cheap transactions a lot of the time. You're going to be investing in something, and a lot of the businesses that we work with have maybe moved into the paying an agency or a video studio for the first time, and we hear a lot that this is the biggest investment that we've ever made in marketing, and we want to make sure it's right. And all we're doing as an agency is to try and make them feel confident, and then show them that we know our stuff and have our shit together, and that we can provide a service that is of a certain level that they would be more than happy with the return on investment, not just from actual results of the asset, but also in the investment in the service that we provide. Because ultimately, as an agency, and I'm kind of talking more to the agencies here, less to the business. If you're an agency that can provide a good result, but an unbelievably exceptional customer experience, the chances of them coming back to you are a lot higher than if you provide an unbelievable result and a very mediocre customer experience. It just is. Like, we want to make sure we're doing the best product possible, but we want to ensure that we are providing the best customer service, and that they feel like they're heard, that they feel like they're looked after, that they feel that their investment was worth every single penny and then more. That's the ultimate goal as an agency, and that's what we're trying to achieve. So I hope this helped. Just 5 simple questions that you can really add to your discovery process with your vetting agencies. If you want to learn more about this stuff, I do have a free school community below, and where I help businesses move away from the agency model, essentially. Take some of the services away from the agency model, save a lot of money, and implement internal studio principles into the business itself to save money and perform and create higher quality content down the road. So those links are below. If you have any questions, reach out. Again, I'm new to the YouTube thing, so this is kind of a trial thing for me. I'm going to keep producing content, but if you have any questions or have any input on how to better set these videos up, just let me know in the comments below. Just ask a question, make a comment. I'll be happy to get back to you. But yeah, that's essentially it for today. Cheers.